Welcome to r/Offmychest, where OP's son might be a psychopath. Today's video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. So, as a professional content creator, I consider it to be part of my job to consume as much content as possible. YouTube, podcasts, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, pretty much anything I can get my hands on. And to be honest, it kind of pisses me off that I'll pay for a subscription to a website and I won't get access to all the content. That's why I use ExpressVPN as my VPN service. When you're behind a VPN, you can access all that geo-locked content that YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon don't want you to see. VPNs let you change your location, so websites don't know where you're logging in from. So basically, if you want to watch Hunter x Hunter, then all you have to do is go to ExpressVPN and set your location to the US. Then Netflix thinks that you're watching from the US, so you can watch all the US exclusive content. Also, an added bonus of using ExpressVPN is I get extra privacy. Since I'm kind of in the public eye, I'm not super comfortable with the idea that my internet service provider will be like, "Hey, check it out, rSlash is looking up anime titties again." So that's why I use ExpressVPN. I get more content and more privacy, so it seems like a good deal to me. And speaking of good deals, you can get 3 months free of ExpressVPN by going to expressvpn.com/rSlash. Scan the QR code on screen. Our next Reddit post is from Final Moose. I hate my son with every fiber of my being, and I don't even feel bad about it anymore. I know this makes me sound like the worst father in the world, but I'm past the point of caring. I absolutely hate my son, and no, this isn't just me being upset over some typical teenage rebellion or an argument gone too far. He's 21 now, and I can confidently say that he's just a terrible person. It started young. He was always the kid who picked on others. I'll never forget when he broke a classmate's arm on the playground in 3rd grade, on purpose. The school had to get involved, and even then, he just didn't care. No remorse, no apology. I thought it was just a phase or something he'd grow out of, but it only got worse. Fast forward to his teenage years. He started stealing. Not just little things like a few bucks from my wallet, but serious stuff. Last year, he somehow got into our bank account and drained our savings. Thousands of dollars gone, and he used it all on drinking, gambling, and who knows what else. We found out when the bank called us about suspicious activity, and when I confronted him, he just shrugged. No apology, no explanation. He didn't even try to deny it. He just doesn't care. He's cheated on every girl he's ever dated, and then has the audacity to laugh about it like it's some kind of joke. He disrespects everyone around him. When he doesn't get his way, he throws tantrums. He's punched holes in the walls, smashed things in the house, and once even threatened to hit me. I've had to walk on eggshells in my own home for years now, just waiting for the next explosion. His presence is like a dark, toxic cloud that sucks the life out of everyone. We've tried everything: therapy, family interventions, tough love, soft love, everything. None of it has worked. At this point, I'm exhausted. I don't even recognize him anymore, and honestly, I don't want him around. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's the truth. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I'm just done. I don't feel guilty about it either, not anymore. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Then OP posted an update. I finally kicked my son out, and I ended up reporting him too. I won't go into details, it's just too painful. Honestly, I feel both relieved and lost. It's like a weight has lifted, but I'm completely drained from everything that's happened. I never thought I'd reach this point. Good luck, OP. He sounds like one of those guys who ends up murdering his parents. Our next Reddit post is from Dukes of Hazzard Lights. I've got some piping hot family tea that I am dying to share. This is just too good to keep in. I can't tell anyone in my family, so naturally, I'm telling internet strangers, lol. This hot tea special is centered on my dad, Steve, who's 69. For context, my family lives in the Midwestern US. My dad was born on the West Coast and graduated high school in 1974. I'm a 37-year-old woman, and when me and my sister, who's 39, were growing up, Dad had a tattoo of a woman's name on his arm. We used to ask him who Susan was, because that is not our mom's name. The only thing he would ever say was that she was an old high school girlfriend, and if we tried to inquire further, he'd get kinda weird and shut down, and Mom would swoop in to change the subject. Once my sister and I were in our teens, our mom gave us the real story on Susan. Apparently, Susan and Dad were high school sweethearts. About a year or two after they graduated high school, Dad came home and found Susan in bed with some firefighter. Naturally, it totally wrecked him, and I guess he had trouble relaying the full story to Mom even after they were married. My sister and I made sure to never mention Susan to my dad again, but we could tell that Mom was bothered by the tattoo, which Dad got covered up eventually. Fast forward to 2023. My parents' marriage had lasted almost 40 years, but after years of counseling and trying to make things work, they ended up divorcing. My sister and I were honestly relieved because it was exhausting trying to ignore the elephant in the room for so long. Now that they aren't together, our parents are living their best lives and figuring out who they are outside of each other. Now to June 2024. My dad decides to go to his 50th high school reunion. You can see where this is going, right? He sends me and my sister a bunch of pictures of him with his old buddies, and he genuinely seems to be enjoying himself. Well, shocker, Susan shows up to the reunion also. He sees her and keeps his distance, but she seems to be lingering nearby to talk to him. Later in the evening, after everyone's had a few drinks, she sits down next to him. My dad is more loosened up at this point and is expecting her to say her piece, explain, apologize, etc. As they start talking though, it becomes clear to my dad that Susan is completely oblivious to the pain that she caused. Eventually, he turns to her and says, "Are you seriously going to talk to me and act like everything ended on a friendly note for us, like you didn't do anything wrong?" Totally shocked, she looks at him and says, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You cheated on me. I came home and you were screwing that firefighter guy." When Susan could finally put the words together, she replies, "What are you talking about, Steve?" And my dad just stares at her, incredulous. She had totally blocked out what had happened. He shakes his head and is about to get up when Susan says, "Steven, that never happened. You broke up with me. You wanted to leave the coast for a while and said that I deserved to be with someone who would cherish me and treat me like I deserved. You didn't think that you were good enough for me. You broke my heart." My dad is getting more and more heated the longer Susan talks because the audacity. He goes to interrupt her and she doubles down, finally saying, "You wrote me a letter before you left. You wrote me a letter saying how sorry you were that you couldn't be the man that I deserved." Dad is sitting there, utterly flabbergasted by this woman's sheer gall. And then Susan reaches into her purse and effing pulls out the letter. And it is legit my dad's handwriting. Not only had she kept this letter for 50 years, but homegirl brought it with her to the reunion in hopes that she might see him there. She then proceeds to tell my dad that she's only ever loved two men in her life. Her late husband, who was a retired firefighter, and my dad. That's it. What I can't wrap my head around is how my dad got it so wrong for so many years. Also, how did he forget that he wrote Susan a letter? My sister's the one who told me about the whole reunion conversation and drama. She's closer to Dad than I am. And she swore me to secrecy. We think that maybe he was embarrassed about having someone's name tattooed on him, so he made up a sob story to make my mom feel less insecure about the tattoo's existence. And maybe he told the lie enough that he started believing it himself and convinced himself that it was what really happened. And he knew that Susan went on to marry a firefighter, so maybe he somehow incorporated that into the narrative. It's all just so effing wild. So after that illuminating revelation at the reunion, Dad and Susan made their peace with each other. They've been talking a lot since then, and now they're kinda dating. He's gone to visit her twice since the reunion. If the selective memory thing wasn't so messed up, it would almost be romantic. I don't dare say anything to our mom about this. Even though they're divorced, I still think it would crush her to know the truth. I worry that she would think Dad always harbored feelings for Susan, and that their marriage was not his first choice because he still loved Susan. You know, I actually have one of these too, to be totally honest with you. When I was in college, either something happened, I don't want to say what the event was because if it was true, it was embarrassing. And I genuinely, to this day, I don't know if it really did truly happen or if I dreamed it. So I kinda understand where your dad is coming from. The human memory is not as reliable as we would like it to be. Our next Reddit post is from Off with His Balls. I put my boyfriend through college. He just repaid me by cheating on me with a high schooler. I supported my man for years, paid every cent of his tuition, supported his dreams to join medical school even when his parents implied that he wasn't smart enough. This dude also got home to warm meals, a clean room, and head. Meanwhile, I worked my own shifts at a local pharmacy. My family is well off, so they gave me the blessing to invest in his future. We all stupidly assumed that he'd be my future husband. We dated since 2015, and we were never apart for more than a few weeks. I feel stupid now. I loved him, y'all. Male loneliness epidemic is something this guy couldn't even dream of. He was a king. And no, he never paid rent at my place. I coddled him because being a future doctor seemed exhausting. But he apparently wasn't as busy as he said he was because he cheated on me. The other woman isn't even a woman, but a teenager. He was tutoring her and they eventually began screwing. I don't know if I should tell the girl's parents or let them rot happily ever after. I can only die more or less proud knowing that I did my very best to make him feel adored. Hell, I even got him a PlayStation 5 when it came out. I've never purchased anything over $50 for myself, and neither has he. He always brings me discount chocolate. That console will be leaving with me the day that I walk out the door. I'll sell it and buy myself a pair of high-heeled boots. He never allowed me to be taller than him. Don't date minors, guys, and don't cheat on the woman that would have taken a bullet for you. I will never, ever love again. Not the way I love this damn groomer. Also, geez, down in the comments, OP reveals, I didn't want to be petty, but the girl is 14 and he's 28. I hope he likes moving back with mommy and daddy because this home is in my name, and so is his car. Our next Reddit post is from Narrow Cobbler. Me and my husband have been together for 5 years. He has 2 friends from college who are a couple, Mike who's 30 and Tina who's 28. They've all been close since we met, and I immediately liked them both, and they really took to me as well. I really feel like they're my friends too. A while back, they told me that they were in an open relationship and enjoyed swinging. This was after we all had a few drinks, and I talked about how my husband was my first relationship and my first partner. They knew that already, but this time the talk got a bit more into specifics. They weren't pressuring me into anything, and I didn't feel like they were trying to get me into anything. I didn't think that swinging was for me, and honestly, I still don't. But they've been together many years, and if that works for them, all power to them. Well, ever since they told me, my husband got kinda weird. Mike and Tina didn't really bring the subject up anymore, but my husband kinda just wouldn't let it go. At first, he kept asking me if I thought that Mike was good looking, or if I thought that he was nice. And he kept enthusing about Tina, how Tina was so hot and Tina was such a good wife and such a good friend and so kind. I know he had a thing for Tina way back, but I thought that was over since she was with Mike. Then he started talking about how hot it made him thinking about me with another man or another woman. And the talk would always get him really excited and we would do it. I thought it was kind of off, but he seemed happy and excited, so I let it be. Then his birthday rolled around, and I asked him what he wanted, and he tells me he wants to reach out to Mike and Tina to see if they're into swinging. At first, I wasn't really into it, but he kept asking and begging. He told me he was bored with our love life and it needed spicing up. This really hurt my feelings because there's a lot of stuff I wasn't really into, but that I let him do because I thought it made him happy. Whenever I asked him to do something, he would shoot it down or say that it made him uncomfortable. Anyway, he kept insisting and eventually I agreed. This got him really excited and he told me not to worry about it and he would talk it out with Mike and Tina and he would take care of everything and I was the best wife in the world, which made me really happy because it's been a while since he was this excited about me. So the day comes and we meet up at their house and Mike and Tina are being really sweet. They keep checking comfort levels and this is the problem. See, the way that we did it was that first, Tina and me did some stuff and the men watched, and it was nice. I felt very sexy and cared for, and Tina seemed really happy too. Then, Mike took me to the bedroom while my husband and Tina stayed in the living room, and it was lovely. Mike was so attentive and so excited, and again, I felt really beautiful and really desirable. We stayed there for apparently a really long time, and I think I looked maybe too happy when we returned to the living room. And when we returned, it was kinda weird because Tina and my husband were just kinda sitting there on their phones, and my husband looked kind of upset. He said something like, "Oh, finally," and said it was time to go home, and I barely got a chance to say goodbye. Ever since then, my husband's been a bit weird. He doesn't talk about it anymore, and when I try to tell him about my time with Mike or ask about Tina, he just shuts down. We haven't really talked to them since. But also, our love life is gone. The few times that we did it, I realized he just doesn't really do it for me anymore, and it seems like he doesn't even want to try anymore. I met Tina a few days ago and we talked. I told her everything because I felt really alone in this and I really wanted to talk to someone. I asked her about what happened with my husband, and she told me that he just finished really quickly and wasn't really into satisfying her before or afterwards. She wasn't really bothered and told me that men were like that sometimes with her, but she said that he got distant and defensive, and she didn't really want to talk to him anymore. But she thought that I was lovely, and Mike thought so too, which made me feel really good about myself. Then she said that she kind of understood it though, since I was really into swinging and he just kind of came along. I was like, "Excuse me, WTF?" Then we talked some more, and turns out my husband had been setting this up for weeks, way before I agreed. And he kept telling them that he was doing this for me, and that I was really into it, and I kept insisting, and I brought it up, and I was really into it, which is a total lie. Then, the more we talked, the more I realized just how unsatisfied I am in my relationship, both emotionally and sexually. I don't think that polyamory, swinging, or open relationships is for me, but I think that being married to my husband isn't really for me either. I don't want to sound spoiled or entitled, but at the very least, I think I deserve to be with a man who won't lie to me and who will make me feel loved and satisfied, or at least, I don't know, make the effort. I love this top comment from Mammoth Historical. That's really funny. The guy wants to be a player, but has no game. Our next Reddit post is from Physical Bus. I called off my engagement with my fiancée after her reaction to my engagement ring. The diamond ring that I bought for her was lab grown, $2,400. A few days after the proposal, everything seemed fine until she somehow discovered the price of the ring. She told me she felt hurt that I would spend so little on her, claiming it reflected her worth and the seriousness of our future marriage. When I asked what she'd expected, she said the ring should have been at least $20,000. Granted, I sat her down and explained that while I certainly could afford a more expensive ring, we need to manage expectations. There's also a wedding to plan, and we might be covering most of the costs ourselves since neither of our parents has the means to help. I pointed out there are smarter ways to use $20,000. Paying off a car loan, putting it towards a down payment on a house, investing, or even funding her business idea, something we talked about before. As someone who didn't grow up with financial stability, becoming financially secure and literate is a major priority for me. But despite the conversation, she insisted she would still feel bothered if I didn't upgrade the ring. Gentlemen, the price of a diamond ring should never dictate the quality of your marriage. I don't need to be married to know that. I've been a supportive and committed partner. Her response shocked me, and after a lot of reflection, I ultimately decided to end our relationship. These past few days have been rough, full of emotions and reactions from loved ones and friends, but I chose to trust my gut on this one. It hurts, I won't lie, but a price tag on a shiny mineral shouldn't define the foundations of a partnership. That was rSlash, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit episodes every single day.